The First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're once again, when I say we, I'm talking about the First Coast. And for those of you new to the area, we count the First Coast everywhere from Waycross, from the Okefenokee and the Swanee, all the way down to Flagler County, all the way up to St. Simon's Island. We consider the Jackson metro area basically being Nassau, Duval, Clay, and St. John's, because that's where about 90% of the First Coast viewership, if we can put it that way, is. But when you look at the temperatures, especially east of the Rockies, we are once again one of the hottest locations in the nation. Again today, if you look at where the cool temperatures are, they stretch from Chicago to Topeka and Denver. And that's where this cool pool of air has been. Hasn't moved much, but it is on the move. We thought it would be on the move, and it's going to send a cool front our way. It's one of the reasons why with that front heading our way, thunderstorms even more widespread today than they were yesterday, and should even be more widespread tomorrow. Although increasingly it's looking like tomorrow will come in two rounds, and maybe the worst, the stormiest weather with tomorrow and the front may not arrive until Friday evening into Friday night. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Let's expand the picture here. And as I do so, we include the coast of Mexico way down there. And I want to mention that because, yes, technically the first tropical storm of the season has formed, but not in our part of the world. We consider our part of the world the Atlantic Basin, that being the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic. Nothing out there, no signs of anything for the next 7 days. So Alvin has formed. That's for the Pacific coast of Mexico. We're talking about, again, the Pacific coast. And if there's any threat at all, it's going to be for places like Manzanillo up toward Baja, for those of you who know Mexico. Manzanillo is actually on mainland Mexico, but it's across the Baja tip. And there he is, Ross Muma, a busy meteorologist, but management has him busy as well. They want to pick his brain, try to figure out what's the best way to do stuff. So hopefully
storms, I didn't want to leave you hanging.
No, I appreciate it. But hopefully you've helped management out as well.
I tried.
Okay, all
I don't
right.
know if they wanted to help or not.
All right. So go ahead.
I don't know if you talked about this at all. Did they issue a watch?
A watch has not been issued yet.
Okay.
And the reason Ross is asking that, at least as of 4 p.m., the reason Ross is asking that is because the Severe Storms Forecast Office indicated that at least part of our area likely would be put under a watch. It certainly supports the idea that we've had for the last couple of days that thunderstorms would become more widespread. And there's several significant thunderstorms out there that we're going to get to. But no watch yet.
Okay. Jump ahead.
No. It's. I want folks to know that that's sort of going through our head. That don't be surprised if while we're here, we talk about a watch. But whether a watch is issued or not, the thunderstorms are developing. Generally has to do with that front pressing down. Now, I'm showing you different areas of the nation that are the stormiest. Not a lot happening yet, but we do expect eastern New Mexico, Texas, possibly Oklahoma will really fire up, folks. And that's where the cool front is, and that's what we'll be dealing with tomorrow. I mentioned Ross, folks, Ross, that although we could have some showers in the morning, especially because of moisture coming in from the Gulf, we think the main event, organized thunderstorms with the front, may not line up tomorrow until actually the evening hours and tomorrow night. For those who want to get some activity done. But that's for Friday. For now, there it is, and this is why it's pretty easy to say showers and thunderstorms will be more widespread today as we see this massive showers and thunderstorms. We could see this chunk really over the Gulf yesterday afternoon. We talked about the fact that you can see the signature during the afternoon. Typically, that's when the warmer waters, but because they're not as warm as the land areas, you see a decrease. But that was still a pretty organized event. So even if you didn't have the computer models, there was an indication there's an event heading our way. But then as we zoom on in, if there's the worst part of that event, it looks like it's passing off to the northeast of us. In fact, Ross, while you were gone, there was a very brief, again, tornado warning around the Peachtree area. Okay. Right now, the severe thunderstorm warnings are more over South Carolina. But still, the southern tail of that event is what's sliding toward us. You can see it out over the Panhandle, Appalachia Bay, and then it's being preceded by, or at least on the leading edge of maybe where the upper level conditions are becoming more unstable, the Gulf Coast sea breeze is coming across the peninsula. We're getting the heat of the day, and so we're seeing this conglomeration of thunderstorms continuing to build now into Putnam County, Clay County, Union, and Bradford, and even, getting into northwest Clay, shortly into southwestern Duval. So,
this looks a little bit quicker than what some of the models showed this morning.
Yeah, and what I think is going to be interesting, Ross, is do we almost see like a leapfrog event? That is, that big mass out to the west of us is painting the upper level system, but are we going to see our scattered showers and thunderstorms coming at us from the southwest bump up against what little bit of sea breeze we have? That becomes a thunderstorm event, and the energy from the west sort of hops into that, and we see that line up along the coast and then head out pretty quickly. So So I would say, just looking at this, folks, although we're waiting to see if a severe thunderstorm watch is issued, which would be like an organized event, we could see within about the next hour to 2 hours, the scattered event really fire up, maybe again along the I-95 corridor, northeastern Florida, southeastern Georgia.
Now, have you looked, I don't know if you'll have it here, but like the visible satellite imagery,
yes.
Areas north of Jax, did they have more sunshine and less cloud cover today?
Yeah,
a lot of Duval had a decent amount of mid to high level clouds.
There was a break in the clouds west of us, and then also north of us.
Okay.
And so I am wondering if some of that that's heading toward us might decrease a little bit. But
until it meets the sea breeze.
Yeah, until it meets the sea breeze, right. And then the sea breeze fire up. In fact, I think I'll zoom in here. Yeah, in just a second, I'll paint the sea breeze. So for those of you, again, these have lightning, so they're a big deal. So for those of you notice they're lined up from McClenny on down into Alachua County, probably near Micanopy, Ross, and heading now into western Clay, about ready to get into Duval, maybe out around the Oakleaf area, and then firing up there in Nassau County. In fact, pretty close where you may be headed here pretty quickly, right?
Heading out into the Protector.
Yep, heading the Protector toward the Callahan area, so you can be in position to check out storms, whatever these storms do here, and maybe over southeastern Georgia. So I'm going to add the sea breeze to it. So I got the radar super sensitized, folks, and if you see that little green line, and that's heading from east to west. So that's the sea breeze.
That looks like it's going to collide right over the west side of the Beltway.
Yeah.
By about maybe 4:30.
Yeah. So within the next 30 to 45 minutes. So I would say when you're heading out the door, you may have a really good idea, Ross, of which particular cell you want to get on. I mean, it could be what's firing up over Nassau County.
I think the key here is sometimes patience. I didn't do a whole lot of storm chasing, but I know from our storm chasers out in Oklahoma where I used to work, you don't want to jump the gun too early and get caught up in some of these isolated cells that are moving in from the west. They may fire up and be a big deal here, but based off of what the meso-analysis is showing, what the Storm Prediction Center was talking about, it looks like areas to the north potentially have a better chance, a little bit more upper-level lift as well. I don't know what you think.
No, I'm with you, because obviously
I want to be careful of not.
No,
so again,
I'm with you.
We're going out in our live, storm chasing unit, the Protector. I don't want to get sucked down south,
right,
and then realize, okay, really the big event and the strongest storms, best chance for severe weather is going to actually be further northward. You're talking Nassau, Camden, Glenn County, even maybe, and then you're trying to work your way north through your evening commute and all that evening traffic. Then you're just kind of a sitting duck down there in the metro.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's why I mentioned Callahan, or the general idea of going north, because I could see the temptation to go southwest, but I could see those cells that are starting to pop hit that sea breeze and then just fly right up that border. Sort of. Whereas yesterday we saw that sea breeze convergence with those storms over Camden and Nassau County and work down to the southeast. I think this one might work pretty quickly off to the north.
Something maybe different today than yesterday. So most of our storms generally initialized up and down 95, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't really come in from the far west and southwest. So after the storm started to move east, some of those were like outflow boundaries that pushed off to the west, those rear flank downdrafts. That's still pretty hot, dry air coming down the backside of those storms. A lot of them actually backfilled west.
Yep.
So although the storm was moving east, it was actually continuing to build west because areas west of Jacksonville hadn't actually seen storms yet. There was still lots of energy, moisture, heat, and things of that nature. But I don't see that as good of a possibility today. Would you agree?
I'm with you.
I mean, it's possible.
I think what's tough is I think we almost have two different animals. I think that if we're going to call it that, the one animal you're going to chase to the northeast, I agree, is we're not going to have the back building. But I do wonder if from like Clay and St. Johns County south, is that south of that event, and then we are left with thunderstorms that, the way I look at it is they're in search of heat.
Yeah.
And so although you see the motion to the east, it's like you say, do we see some what we call back building off to the west?
And they're just kind of meandering around as they slowly drift east.
Right.
Trying to.
That's another interesting challenge, folks, about living where we live. We live so very often just far enough north to where we're impacted by what's happened in the westerlies, and then just far enough south to where part of our area is just sort of left in a lull, that there's really not much in the way of steering, and a lot of that energy, a lot of the vorticity is passed off to the north of us. And so then we're left with both sort of what I call a synoptic situation, but then also just a thermal situation.
Yeah.
Where those outflow boundaries are going to go. But either way, always
true live weather analysis here. We did not discuss it before.
No,
So.
this is pure nowcasting, which to me is for those who are with us, I think it's one of the beauties about streaming is that it really does allow us just to plain talk about stuff, as long as we have time to do it amidst our other responsibilities, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's a look at what we're going to be doing really over the next couple of hours, folks, and hopefully helping you make your plans. But why don't we now? First of all, let's see how the computer models. So here we are at 5 o'clock. I would say, yeah, this model is a little bit slow with the system coming out of the west, and not quite as productive as what looks like coming out of the west and southwest.
Correct. Yeah, I would agree.
It looks almost underdone both ways. I do think it paints the overall idea. The system out of the west does flare things up over southeastern Georgia. But maybe what's going to be interesting, Ross, to me is how that's painted there at 8 o'clock. Is it going to look almost like at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Well, in my head, I was thinking 6:30 to 7 maybe, and then everything's already completely offshore by 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this might be a little bit slow, folks. So I guess what we're saying is we think the overall idea is if you're going to be out and about, keep your eyes to the west and southwest. That's where the storms are coming in from. Just happening a little quicker than what these models indicate. So tomorrow morning, by tomorrow morning, there will be cooling temperatures aloft, even though Andy's not here. We got to mention that. And what we mean by that is, let's say 15,000 feet up, temperatures are cooling. If conditions are ripe, especially now because the Gulf of Mexico is so warm, that can sometimes cause things to fire up. It looks like, Ross, it's going to be more of a shallow shower event. That is, the moisture's coming in, there's a convergence, and even these models are supporting the idea that a few showers come across, especially south of Duval. But my other wonderment, and we were talking about this yesterday, was do we get a big blow up that goes all the way to the cirrus level of thunderstorms over the northeast Gulf, doesn't move much, puts a solid layer of clouds over us, and really gives us a very quiet day. We still may have a relatively mild day, or not mild, but a relatively quiet day as far as lack of big organized thunderstorms. But if we don't get that morning cloud cover, then some of these scattered thunderstorms that this model is showing, might pop up during the afternoon. All the while, notice to the northwest, we're just starting to see that, folks, is the, it didn't go beyond 4 o'clock. Of course, that's our 24-hour. So here's the big picture, folks. And I think this paints kind of what we're talking about. So you just see that organized line of thunderstorms over the Gulf to near Atlanta. And then you can see what's happening over our area now. And then the event races up to the northeast. Our daytime thunderstorms fall apart. Tomorrow morning, we start to fire back up. But there's the front that at 2:30 might still be as far off to the northwest of Atlanta to New Orleans, which is why we think we'll have a few widely scattered showers and thunder showers during the day. But it might be until 7 or 8.
Yeah, pretty late tomorrow night.
Yeah, before an organized line fires up over southeastern Georgia and then drives through our area. I'm painting this so at tomorrow morning by dawn, that front should be
Or by
through.
Saturday morning.
By Saturday morning. that front will be through the most organized thunderstorms down around I-4. But still, it paints the idea that unfortunately for you, Ross, things could be really most active between like maybe 7 p.m. and midnight,
yeah, it could be a little bit of
and hopefully not later.
Yeah, it could be a late night. I think the key takeaways for tomorrow, don't be surprised that there are a few showers around for the morning commute. I don't think it'll be a huge impact, but there might be some wet roadways out there. Not all of them, but some. Most of the day looks like it should be dry. Once you get into the afternoon, if we haven't had a lot of cloud cover overhead, we're talking those mid to upper level clouds, if we haven't had that, then we will see some isolated to scattered showers, perhaps 1 or 2 isolated thunderstorms through the late afternoon. So 3, 4, 5 p.m. perhaps. Then really the big event comes in later. So if you head out to dinner tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, you finish up, you're having drinks or everything, the sun sets, having a great time. Don't let your guard down, because it does look like this front could come in with a pretty strong force and fury, as you heard Tim mention, after 7, 8, even 9 o'clock. So although much of the evening hours might actually be a little bit calmer, and by evening I'm talking dinner time hours, they might look a little bit calmer than what we are going to see tonight and even saw last night. There's still going to be a very good chance to see at least some strong, if not some severe storms along that line as it pushes in. It just looks like the latest model runs are really hinting to the fact that it could be a post-sunset storm event, more of a nocturnal event here, rather than things coming in, late afternoon, early evening like we typically see now that we're moving into the wet season.
So, Ross, it could be that if my official retirement time is 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, that maybe just after that, it's all up to you.
I have no doubt.
We shall see. We shall see. Okay, so but the front is pushing through, folks, and it's going to keep pushing away from us. So if you just care about the weekend, I think you're going to like it. But let's talk about it. So here is in words what pretty much Ross was talking about. Watch for those morning showers. We think the main event will be after 4 p.m. That was very conservative vocabulary. And as Ross mentioned, I agree. Probably it's looking more and more like after 7 p.m. So if you're only concerned about tomorrow is getting a full day of work and outdoors, outside of those, maybe some brief showers in the morning, you might almost get a full day done. But again, out around the beaches, the few thunder showers that do come through, mid to late morning to midday, they'll go all the way to the beaches, and then what happens during the evening will go to the beaches as well. But I would suspect for people on boats, most of them will be at their dock by sunset tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it could be that they're in. Now, we're probably going to update this, right, Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have a weather impact alert day tomorrow, folks. But as we told you, as we get closer to these impact alert days, we try to tweak them so that we get closer to the timing of when we think the worst weather will be. And although we do think there'll be some showers around on Friday morning, we don't think it's going to quite reach that threshold to be widespread enough. So we're probably going to narrow this down and make it more, what do you think, 4 to midnight?
Yeah, at least 4 to midnight probably.
And maybe
and coming up at 11 tonight, I'm going to have a graphic to kind of show you these areas are going to have it, between this time and this time. And similarly, the whole way across the first coast. So we can try to break it down as precisely as we can so that you can prepare ahead of time if you do have any Friday night plans out there.
Yeah, because hopefully folks realize in that we're not trying to keep you hyper for as long as is possible. Yeah. All we're really trying to do is, first of all, let you know what we think is happening, and if we can narrow it down so that, yes, you know when to be safe, but then, like Ross said, that also means, well, this means I can be outside during this period of time. We just...
Because there's graduation parties going on tomorrow night probably,
Yes.
A lot of different things going on outside.
Right.
And if you have the option to have it outside, if it's around dinner time, I think do it, for now. How things are looking, it'll be much later.
And believe me, folks, if we could nail it down on last Monday, we would. But especially where we live, as we see these strong fronts, but we know they're going to weaken as they come our way. Sometimes just playing the heat of the day and the sea breeze becomes more significant than the front. It's really tough well into the future to try to nail down, okay, what hours will the thunderstorms be?
Yeah.
That to me continues to be the challenge, especially forecasting down here. But there's Saturday. Yeah, no doubt about it. You might call it hot by the afternoon, but much drier air. And then check out Sunday morning, 64, maybe a few upper 50s, Ross, heading out well to the west and to the northwest. So
that's
hot
where I want to
in the
go.
Afternoon. That's where you want to go?
Yeah, anywhere where it's cold.
That's where you and so Ross and Enzo actually may be going to Colorado in the mountains
Yeah.
since he's
Here we
searching
go.
for cold. All right, we're wrapping it. Oh no, we're not getting to go to 22:30. Don't
You
we?
got a full extra minute here.
We do. So a beautiful start on Sunday. Sunday is June 1st, right? Beginning of hurricane season. I've already talked to them about Alvin, but that's Eastern Pacific.
Well, talking about hurricane season, not to interrupt too much.
Yeah.
But our annual hurricane special airs this weekend.
Beautiful, perfect
So
time.
it is on, I believe, at 1 o'clock on Saturday and at 5:30, I believe, on Sunday.
And I love what we've done. You guys you and Lee, women, have done way more work than I did. But we're going to share the latest science and try to look ahead, folks. But I love it when we talk to folks who have actually, your neighbors, who have been through hurricanes and they have lessons learned. To me, there is just nothing better. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, but they can just talk to you in neighborhood friends language, right? So with that, this is. Oh no, I'll be here tomorrow, won't I?
One last stream tomorrow.
I'll be here tomorrow. Okay.
Tune in then, folks.